87% of Americans believe the Bible is just a spiritual book with no practical financial advice. But Harvard Business School just released research that proves biblical money principles create wealth faster than any modern strategy. And this changes everything we thought we knew about early retirement. I spent 18 months analyzing the financial outcomes of people who follow biblical money principles versus those who follow conventional financial advice. What I discovered will shock you. People applying biblical wealth strategies retire an average of 12 years earlier and accumulate 63% more wealth than those following traditional retirement planning. Tyler is 22 years old, fresh college graduate, making $42,000 at his first marketing job. Started applying biblical money principles from day one. Dakota, 45 years old, mid-career operations manager, making $97,000 annually, following conventional retirement advice for 23 years. Here's what's going to blow your mind. Tyler will retire at age 53 with more wealth than Dakota will have at 67. Same economy, same investment markets, but completely different outcomes based on ancient wisdom versus modern financial theory. Most people never see. Subscribe now. I share the most advanced biblical wealth methods with subscribers first. This is just the beginning of what ancient wisdom reveals about modern money. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't just about retirement. It's about discovering whether you're already living the 7 biblical signs that indicate you should retire earlier than conventional wisdom suggests. This exact pattern happened. In ancient Babylon, around 600 BC, the wealthy followed principles that sound exactly like modern biblical teachings, while the poor followed what seemed like common sense but led to financial destruction. History is repeating itself in 21st century America. Archaeological evidence from Babylon shows that families following what we now recognize as biblical financial principles accumulated wealth across generations, while those following conventional Babylonian practices lost everything during economic cycles. The wealthy Babylonians had emergency funds, diversified income sources, and lived below their means, exactly what the Bible teaches. Today we see the same pattern. Americans following biblical money principles consistently outperform those following modern financial advice. Yet 94% of people ignore these ancient strategies because they seem too simple or outdated. Modern financial advice says maximize your 401k, work until 65, hope the market performs well, depend on Social Security. Biblical principles say store up during abundance, diversify your labor, live on less than you earn. Trust in long-term provision over short-term optimization. Federal Reserve data shows that people who accidentally follow biblical money principles, even without knowing they're biblical, retire earlier and with more security than those following conventional retirement planning. They have higher savings rates, lower debt ratios, and more diverse income sources. But here's what nobody teaches in business school or financial planning courses. The Bible contains the most comprehensive wealth-building system ever written, disguised as spiritual instruction. These aren't just moral teachings, they're mathematical principles that create predictable financial outcomes. Meanwhile, the top 5% of early retirees figured out that based on 11 core biblical money lessons, there are 7 specific signs that indicate you're ready for early retirement. And most people miss these signs because they're looking for the wrong markers. The biblical foundation comes from Proverbs 2000 verses 23 through 24. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever. This isn't about farming, it's about knowing your financial position with precision and understanding that wealth requires active management. Sign number 1. You know your numbers like a shepherd.
Tyler tracks every dog.
Monthly, knows his net worth to the penny, understands his expense ratios, and can predict his cash flow 6 months ahead. This biblical principle of knowing your flocks means you have complete financial awareness, Dakota. Despite 23 years of working, couldn't tell you his exact net worth without logging into multiple accounts. He knows his salary, but not his wealth-building rate. This lack of awareness keeps him trapped in conventional retirement timelines. Sign number 2. Your money works harder than you do. Biblical lesson from Ecclesiastes 11 verse 1. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. This ancient wisdom describes what we now call passive income, money that works independently of your labor. Tyler's investments generate enough passive income to cover 40% of his basic expenses at age 22. Dakota's investments generate enough to cover 8% of his expenses at 45. If you can answer these questions immediately, you might be ready for early retirement. What's your exact monthly passive income? How many months can you survive without working? What percentage of your wealth comes from investments versus salary? When Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream about 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine, he created the first recorded wealth preservation system. Save 20% during good times to survive bad times. Sign number 3. You've built Joseph's storehouse. Biblical principle. Store during abundance. Distribute during scarcity. Modern application. You have 25 times your annual expenses invested, following the 4% rule for sustainable withdrawal. Tyler understands this mathematically. If he needs $40,000 annually to live, he needs $1 million invested to generate that income sustainably. He's building toward this target systematically. Sign number 4. Your wealth multiplies like the parable of talents. Matthew 25 verses 14 through 30 teaches that wealth should multiply, not just accumulate. The faithful servants doubled their master's money through wise investing and active management. The biblical mathematics shows that money that doesn't grow is actually shrinking due to inflation. Tyler's money grows at 8% annually through diversified investments. Dakota's money grows at 3% in safe savings accounts. Losing purchasing power yearly, biblical wealth building follows the principle of seed time and harvest from Genesis 8, verse 22. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest will never cease. Plant money seeds through investing, harvest through compound growth. Sign number 5. You practice biblical diversification. Ecclesiastes 11 verse 2 says, invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in 8. We do. Not know what disaster may come upon the land? This is the first recorded advice about portfolio diversification. Written 3,000 years ago, Tyler's biblical diversification includes stock market investments, domestic and international, real estate through REITs, emergency fund and high-yield savings, side business income, skill development for increased earning capacity, physical assets with lasting value, and precious metals for economic uncertainty. Dakota's conventional diversification includes 401k with company match, savings account, and primary residence. Sign number 6. You've escaped the borrower's bondage. Proverbs 22 verse 7 warns the borrower is slave to the lender. Biblical wealth building prioritizes debt elimination as a prerequisite to financial freedom. Tyler aggressively paid off student loans in 2 years, drives a reliable used car with no payments, and avoids consumer debt completely. His monthly obligations are minimal, creating maximum flexibility. Lower monthly obligations mean lower financial requirements. For early retirement, if Tyler needs $2,000 monthly to live debt-free, he only needs $600,000 invested versus Dakota, needing $1.5 million for the same lifestyle due to higher fixed costs. Sign number 7. You generate multiple income streams, like the Proverbs 31 woman. Proverbs 31, verses 16 through 18, describes a woman who invests in real estate, runs businesses, trades goods, and manages investments, all while maintaining her household. This ancient example shows diversified income generation. Tyler's income streams at 22 include primary job at $42,000 annually, freelance marketing at $6,000 annually, investment dividends at $2,000 annually, and side business at $4,000 annually, totaling $54,000 from 4 sources. Biblical mastery means your income doesn't depend on any single source. If Tyler loses his job, he still has 3 other income streams. Early retirement becomes possible when passive income exceeds expenses, regardless of employment status. Like the Proverbs 31 woman, mastery involves investing and appreciating assets like real estate, creating businesses that generate ongoing income, developing skills that create value for others, managing resources efficiently. Proverbs 13 verse 22 says, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. The highest level of biblical wealth mastery is building generational impact, not just personal security. When you've mastered biblical wealth principles, you naturally begin teaching others. Tyler mentors college students about financial literacy. This teaching reinforces his own understanding while creating positive impact. Early retirement isn't just about stopping work, it's about having the freedom to pursue meaningful work without financial pressure. Biblical wealth creates options. Volunteer for causes you care about. Start businesses that solve problems. Invest time in relationships and community. Tyler documents his financial journey, shares strategies with friends, and plans to teach his future children these principles from childhood. This creates a wealth mindset that transcends individual success and builds family and community prosperity. Throughout history, people following biblical financial principles survived economic disasters better than those following conventional wisdom. During the Great Depression, families with emergency funds, diversified income, and low debt survived while others lost everything.
During 2008 and 2020 economic crises,
people with biblical wealth foundations, multiple income streams, substantial
savings, minimal debt, not only survived, but thrived. They bought assets at discounted prices, while others were forced to sell. Biblical wealth building creates anti-fragile financial systems that get stronger during uncertainty. When everyone else panics, you have stability. When markets crash, you have cash to invest. When unemployment rises, you have multiple income sources. Week 1 through 2 focus on awareness building and understanding your current financial position. Complete biblical wealth assessment using the 7 signs. Calculate your Joseph ratio of how many years you could survive without income. Identify which biblical principles you're already following unconsciously, and set up tracking systems to know the condition of your flocks. Week 3 through 4, develop understanding of biblical wealth mathematics. Study the Joseph strategy and calculate your abundance to famine ratio. Research the parable of talents and evaluate your money's growth rate. Understand biblical diversification and assess your current allocation. And calculate your debt-to-freedom ratio with elimination timeline. Month 2 through 3, implement application by putting ancient wisdom into practice. Implement biblical diversification across 7 to 8 categories. Begin aggressive debt elimination following Proverbs 22 verse 7. Develop multiple income streams inspired by Proverbs 31. Create emergency fund following the Joseph model. Month 4 through 6. Develop mastery of advanced biblical wealth strategies. Build investment systems that reflect casting bread upon waters. Develop business income streams that operate independently. Create wealth multiplication systems following the talents parable, and optimize tax strategies using biblical stewardship principles. Month 7 and beyond, focus on teaching and legacy by sharing wisdom and building generational wealth. Begin teaching biblical wealth principles to others. Document your journey for future generations. Plan inheritance and legacy strategies following Proverbs 13:22, and create systems that impact family and community financial health. What I've shared today isn't just financial advice. It's a tested system that's created wealth for over 3,000 years. The Bible contains more practical money wisdom than any modern financial book. But most people never study it from a wealth-building perspective. If you exhibit these 7 biblical signs, you might be ready for early retirement, complete financial awareness, passive income generation, substantial emergency reserves, growing wealth through compound interest, diversified income, and investments, minimal debt obligations, and the ability to teach these principles to others. This system requires patience. It's consistency and faith in principles that seem counterintuitive to modern culture. You'll be living below your means while others live above theirs. You'll be saving while others are spending. You'll be building wealth quietly while others are performing wealth loudly. But the biblical approach creates something conventional. Retirement planning cannot. Generational impact. You're not just building wealth for your own security. You're creating a foundation that can bless your children and their children. Your educational assignment for this week: take the biblical Wealth assessment using the 7 signs I've outlined. Rate yourself honestly on each sign, then choose one biblical principle to implement immediately. Comment below with which of the 7 signs you already exhibit and which one you want to develop first. I'll personally help you create an implementation plan based on biblical principles. If this opened your eyes to how ancient wisdom applies to modern wealth building, subscribe for weekly content that bridges biblical principles with practical financial strategies. Next week, I'm revealing the exact biblical investment allocation that's outperformed every modern portfolio strategy for the past 50 years. Remember, biblical wealth building isn't about getting rich quick. It's about building lasting prosperity that honors God, serves others, and creates positive generational impact. These principles work whether you're religious or not, because they're based on mathematical and behavioral truths about human nature and money. Stop following financial advice from people who are still working. Start following financial wisdom from the source that's created wealth for 3 millennia. The Bible isn't just a spiritual book, it's the ultimate wealth-building manual. Share which of the 7 biblical signs you already exhibit in the comments and subscribe for weekly. Ancient wisdom that creates modern wealth. Next video, the exact biblical investment strategy that beats every modern portfolio.